Okay, so in this video I'm going to be reviewing for the major exam that we have upcoming, and particularly in this year of 2023. By viewing this video you are finishing up your Digital Learning Day assignment. As per usual, when I make these videos, I'm going to be from time to time pausing and saying certain items, spelling them for the camera so that obviously you can put those in and get yourself an easy and free 100. So the major exam is going to cover chapters 1 through 7, and these are the sections that are going to be on it. Particularly, in the first and foremost, make sure that you know your vocabulary, all of the vocabulary that we've encountered in chapters 1 through 7. That is why we have made an actual quiz over each one of those chapters. Parts of speech, you need to be able to tell whether it is a noun, adjective, or verb. Helping is knowing what the word actually means, but also the form of the word could help you, because think about verbs OST, must, tis, inti, or infinitive with an RE helps you know that it is a verb as opposed to a noun and an adjective who have their own endings. You need to be able to decline the nouns, giving the nominative and accusative forms, just like we have done so far in class every single day in the couple 3 weeks leading up to this exam. And your endings are incredibly important. Next section is that you have to change an adjective in order that it can modify a noun. That is, to have it manipulated to agree with the noun in case, number, and gender. And we're going to look at some examples on a practice sheet that also is available for you in just a moment. Verbs as well. You need to be able to translate a verb with all 6 different subjects, OST, must, tis, inti, that correspond with I, you, he, we, y'all, they, verb. And also you need to know all 6 forms of esse, the irregular verb, sum, es, sumus, estis, sunt. And we have reached our first word that you're going to put in for your easy and free 100, and that is the infinitive esse. E-S-S-E, esse. That's your first word. So, the next is context, in which you are given a sentence, and you need to be able to know whether you need a subject to complete that sentence, hence you'll choose a nominative form, or whether you need an accusative direct object form to complete the sentence, and we'll see some examples of that as well. And then as well you'll have a grammar section in which you need to be able to identify things that are functioning as subjects or direct objects, transitive verbs, which remember are verbs that will have a direct object or can, intransitive verbs, which are verbs that will not have a direct object, linking verbs, which we know by the very name of it, link things, complements, which are the nominative forms of either a noun or an adjective that is linked to the subject via the linking verb. And then finally you need to know whether it is an infinitive, and we're going to term it a complementary infinitive. Remember, the complementary infinitives are not the same as complements. And then in a moment at the end I'll go through the various different items of culture that we have covered so far in the first 7 chapters. So let's take a look at that practice sheet that we necessarily have. Oh, also before we move on, remember as well, we have the translation section. You will have 6 sentences that you will have to translate, and by far that's going to be worth the most points because that is the culmination of all these other items that we have learned. We learned the forms, the vocabulary, everything so that we can be able to read the Latin. And so therefore we come to your second word that you're going to be putting in, and that is the word translate. T-R-A-N-S-L-A-T-E. Translate. So let's go and take a look at the practice that we have for the major exam. So we're going to start, obviously, at the front, and we're going to use, like we've done in class every day, the forms of magnus or magna to modify the underlined words. Now, the first thing that I would do, if I were y'all, is that I would go ahead and make sure that I know all my forms of magnus and magna. And so I would write myself a little bitty chart over here to the side. And I would write down, let me make sure that I can do it. Nominative and accusative, and then nominative and accusative again. And I would write down magnus and magnum, then magni and magnos as my forms there for my masculine forms. Remember, those are second declension forms. And then I would do the same thing for magna. I would write down magna and magnam, and then for the nominative plural, magni and magnos. That way I would know those are the forms that I'll be dealing with for the masculine forms, and then if it is modifying something feminine. And those are those same endings that you need to know as far as your declension endings for nouns and the like. So let's go ahead and take a look at the first one, voces. Voces with that long es could either be nominative or it could be accusative. While I look at the rest of the sentence and I see patres, and that's not helping out very much as well because it is the exact same thing. And so we have to just simply translate it and see whether it makes better sense of saying that the fathers terrify the voices, or the voices terrify the fathers. Well, obviously, it makes more sense for the voices to be the ones doing the terrifying, so we now know that that is going to be then the nominative form. Long ES is always plural, and I don't know why I don't tell you here, but I will on the exam. If it's a third declension word particularly, it is a feminine word. I think I had glossed it down near to the bottom that it was indeed feminine. Let's take a look. There it is, wokes, feminine that is there, but for whatever reason, for number 1, I left that off. So then let's see if we can, well, make sure that's better. Then find the nominative plural form, and I go here to the feminine, nominative plural, and thus it is going to be magni as modifying it. Number 2, matres in via conspiciunt. Now, this is the same thing. It could be nominative subject or accusative direct object, but here I am not aided by another word like patres, and so it's either going to be that the moms in the road catch sight of, and then you're like, what did they catch sight of? Or what you do is you could understand it more reasonably as saying they catch sight of the moms. And I think that makes better sense. And so therefore, if the they in the verb are actually the ones doing the action, that would make the matres the accusative direct object, because it sounds better to say, in the road, they catch sight of the moms, versus in the road, the moms catch sight of, and then you're left hanging without a direct object of what they call sight of. And so therefore, since they are the accusative direct object, we know that they are plural and they're moms, so they've got to be feminine, and so that way it's going to be magnas. How did I get that? I went to the feminine, all the way down to the accusative plural, long AS. Patron number 3, not a problem. I don't even have to look at the rest of the sentence, because I know from the form alone it's got to be accusative, singular, because of the form, and it is masculine because it means dad. And so therefore, I'm going to write down magn, and of course we in the masculine, there it is, accusative singular. These are the singulars, these are the plurals, and thus I end up with magnum. Number 4, we're. Again, I don't have to look at the rest of the sentence. Lupos could help, because lupos is accusative and has to be the direct object, but I also know that we're has to be the nominative because of the form, and so the man is the one that's doing the repelling. A man, and we see it here, is nominative. It is going to be singular, it is going to be masculine, and so therefore, to make it a big man, it would be then magnus. How did I get that? It was nominative, singular, masculine, and there you see it. The next one, puellas. Again, I don't have to look at the rest of the sentence. I automatically know, due to that form, it has got to be accusative direct object, and I do have a nominative subject that is doing the seeking or the attacking. So the wolf seeks the girls, attacks the girls in the forest, and I want the girls to be modified. It is accusative, I know because of the form. It is plural, I know because of the form, and it is feminine, I know because of the form as the first declension word, and so therefore I go with magnas. How did I get that? Feminine, plural, accusative, long AS. So, I know I'm going kind of fast, but you could slow down the video if you so wish, but we want to move right along to make sure that this is not too long for you to obviously have to watch for your digital learning. We have number 6 with matres. Once again, with that long ES, it could be nominative plural, or it could be accusative plural. Well, I look at the rest of the sentence and I see pueri. Pueri has to be nominative. I can tell because of the form of that long I, and so when the boys are the ones that are doing the seeing, it must be that the moms are the accusative things that they see. So it's accusative, I know that it is plural because of the form, and it's mom, so it's got to be feminine. So again, if I were to have my chart over here, I know that it would be magnas, because that is the accusative plural feminine form. They don't have the same ending, because magnus, magna is a first and second declension adjective, and here it is modifying a third declension noun, and so they are not of the same declensions and will not match up. The wokes, I know to the form that it is your nominative without an ending like third declension words are, so I know that it is nominative, it is the one doing the terrifying, and I know that the girl is the one that is receiving the action as the direct object. So this one is nominative, it is singular, I can tell because of the form, and it is feminine, so therefore it would be magna. Why? Because it is singular, it is feminine, it is nominative. Number 8, wokes. Long ES, it could be nominative or it could be accusative. Patres is not helping because it is in the same boat. And so here we can see 8, 9 are actually the exact same sentence. It's going to be that the dads hear the voices or the voices hear the dads. Well, obviously, voices don't hear, dads are the ones who hear, so therefore voices are going to be your accusative, and it is plural. And we know from the form it is plural, and previously we saw that voice is feminine right there, and so therefore we are going to make accusative plural feminine magna. magnas. Well, it's the exact same thing that we had up there. Matres, accusative plural magnas. Loces, accusative plural magnas. Here we have the exact same sentence, and we just learned a second ago that the patres are the nominative, and so therefore they're the ones doing the hearing, so they're going to then be nominative. They are plural, I know, and that means dad, so it's going to be masculine, and so therefore nominative plural masculine, magni. And of course, hopefully you had your chart written up there. That would help you if you needed it. Serum, I don't even have to look at the rest of the sentence. I know that it is accusative due to its form. I know that it is not only accusative, I know that it is singular because of the form of where it appears in the chart, and I know that it is masculine because it's a second declension word. So Cornelius scolds the slave. And so here it is then going to be modified by magnum. We do see that these two have the same ending. That is because it is a second declension noun being modified by a first and second declension adjective. Then finally the last one, urbim, in this section is going to be obviously accusative singular. I know because of the form, and I know that it is feminine, so here the form is going to be magnam. So again, in order to be able to do this, you have to make sure that you are matching up the case, number, and gender. It won't have necessarily the same ending, but it will have the same case, the same number, and the same gender. And thus we come to your third item to put in for your easy and free 100 for watching this, case. C-A-S-E. Case. That's your third item. So, let's go to the next one here. Here's what you're going to do. You're going to translate the passage, then label all the underlying words as either being a subject, we're looking for nominatives, direct object, we're looking for accusatives, transitive verbs, those verbs that can have a direct object, intransitive verbs, verbs that cannot have a direct object, linking verbs, sum ss, sumus estis sunt, which link the subject to the complement, which I just said what it was, and then if it is an infinitive, which you'll be able to recognize an infinitive easily by the fact that you're going to be able to see an RE or an RE or an RE or an RE, and in front of those will be either a long A, a long E, a short E, or a long I. But that's what we're looking for in the cases of infinitives. So let's go through it really quickly. And so we have here, ubi Cornelia surgit per vilam ambulant. When Cornelia rises, she walks through the country house. Cornelia is the one doing the rising. She is nominative. Rising is an intransitive action. You cannot say he rises the pumpkin, or he rises the keyboard, or he rises the screen. You can raise it, but this is not raise, but rise. And so the act of getting up is an intransitive action. She walks. You cannot walk the pumpkin, walk the keyboard. You can't even walk the dog. You can walk with the dog, but the dog is the one doing the walking on its own, and so therefore that is also an intransitive action. Cornelia est laeta quod Sextus adhuc dormit. Cornelia is happy because Sextus still sleeps and thus is not annoying her. Well, Cornelia here is my subject. We all know that est is a linking verb. All linking verbs are equal sign, and so this is either going to be a complement predicate nominative, a noun renaming the subject, or a complement predicate adjective, the adjective modifying it. Well, it's an adjective, but you don't even need to tell me that it's a CPA. All you need to be able to tell me is that it is a C, complement. And Sextus is the one doing the sleeping in the nominative, so he's the subject, and dormit, he sleeps. Well, sleeping is an intransitive action. You cannot sleep the pumpkin, and so therefore it is IV. Sextus puer molestus est qui Corneliam semper vexat. Cornelius, or not Cornelius, Sextus, sorry about that, is an annoying boy who always annoys Cornelia. Well, Sextus, subject, is my linking verb, the equal sign, and thus puer molestus is my complement. Since it is a puer, it would be a CPN, a complement predicate nominative, but nevertheless, I only need you to know that it is a complement linked to the subject by the linking verb. Who annoys Cornelia? The who is actually doing the annoying, and the annoying is a transitive action because it can have a direct object, and so therefore Corneliam is our DO direct object. Etiam in villa serviat anculae dormiant, quod laborare non volunt. Also in the country house, slaves and slave ladies sleep because they do not want to work. And so slaves and slave ladies are my compound subject because they're the ones doing the sleeping. Sleeping, remember, is an intransitive action. He cannot sleep the Promethean board. And laborare, look, it's an infinitive, so we know that that is my CI, my complementary infinitive. So we move on. Mox tamen surgunt et in agris exire parant quod Cornelium servi timent. Soon, however, they rise and they prepare to go out in the fields because the slaves fear Cornelius. And so, sorgunt is again my intransitive action. He or they, in this instance, rise. You cannot, they get up the screen? No. They rise the screen? No. And so therefore it's an intransitive action with no direct object. They prepare. That is a transitive action because boys and girls, they can prepare the screen. I do it every morning, making sure all my tabs are up. Or your grandma on Thanksgiving prepares the meal, and so therefore is a transitive action. However, it doesn't have a direct object here. Instead, it has hanging out with them an infinitive, and so therefore that's your complementary infinitive. It tells you what they prepare. This is actually what you call an objective infinitive, because the infinitive is functioning as the object. The thing that they are preparing is the act of going out. The infinitive is truly a noun when it comes down to it, but that's neither here nor there. And they do it because the slaves, which are nominative, subject, fear, that is a transitive action because they fear the direct object, Cornelius, as it were. Tandem or tandem omnes laborant. At last, all work. Working, again, is an intransitive action because they cannot work the screen. They can work with the screen, they can work on the screen, but you don't actually work the screen. Cornelius teaches the slaves and the slave ladies to take care of the country house. Cornelius is the one doing the teaching. Teaching is a transitive action because can you teach a direct object slave or a direct object slave lady? Yes. Curare, then, is our complementary infinitive, and then wilam is the direct object, but it's the direct object of curare. And so therefore, please be aware of all of these items and how each one of them function. So your next item is going to be verb that you're going to put in. V-E-R-B. We see that there are three kinds, linking verbs, transitive verbs, and intransitive verbs, but your item to put in for the fourth one is verb, V-E-R-B. So we continue to the third section. In the following sentences, choose the correct form. So what you're looking is finding what you need, either a nominative subject or an accusative direct object, in order to make the sentence complete. So we see here, in agris laborant, they work in the fields. Well, work is, as we learned, an intransitive action. They do not work the screen, they do not work the pumpkin that is there. By the way, if you can't see it on the screen, the pumpkin has the face of the Emperor Claudius on there for a particular reason. But nevertheless, since it is an intransitive verb, it is not going to have a direct object. They do not work the slaves, and they do not work the slave. And so we are finding here in this sentence who the they are. And so therefore, that's nominative subject, but it's not going to be servus romanus, it's going to be servi romani, because we need subject-verb agreement. Singular subject, that's not a singular verb. Plural subject, plural verb. So servi romani, especially when you need a subject for an intransitive action. Number two, often Cornelius and Aurelius scold. Well, we know that Cornelius and Aurelia are the ones doing the scolding because they are nominative, and so what we want in the blank here is whom they scold. And so we are going to need an accusative. We do not need a nominative, 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 but we need the accusative up there because we already got ourselves a nominative, and thus they are the ones doing the scolding. Number three, so under the tree, he, she, or it sees Cornelia. I know that Cornelia is the direct object because it is accusative. And so what I need in the blank is the who is the he, who is the she, who is the it. So I go ahead and get rid of that right there. And so we don't need an accusative in that blank. We already got us one. And so we need a nominative. I know that it is repeated. I don't know why. But are we going to want puella nominative or puellae nominative? Well, look at subject-verb agreement. That is a he, she, or it. That is a they. And so puellae is the way to go in that one. Number four. Moving on. So they fall into the fish pond, in plus accusative, and they terrorize the boys. Well, this is an intransitive action. They do not fall the screen, they do not fall the pumpkin. And so we are not going to be able to have a direct object accusative in that blank. And so therefore, we're going to get rid of that accusative and that accusative. And here we are looking for a they. Now, this is a singular she or it statue. Here is a plural they statue. And so that's going to be better. It says that the statues fall into the fish pond and they terrify the boys. Well, we already have an accusative direct object, so what we're needing in the blank is the who are those they. So let's go ahead and get rid of the accusative, magnum fragorem, and we know that this fragores is accusative because it is modified by magnos. So we are either going to need magnus fragor or magni fragores, both nominatives. How do we know which one? Subject-verb agreement. Since I have a plural verb, I need a plural subject. It says, the statues fall into the fish pond and the loud crashes scare the boys. Number 5, moving right along. Cornelia does not like. And so we have a subject. Cornelia is the one who's doing the not liking, so in that blank we want to figure out whom does she not like. So let's get rid of the nominative and the nominative, leaving the accusative. She doesn't like the boys, both her brother and Sextus, apparently, plural. Number 6, we keep moving on. Marcus conspixit. Marcus spots and prepares to repel him. Or it, if it's referring to the wolf, which it is. So since we know that Marcus is the one who is doing the spotting, what we need in that blank is to tell us whom or what he spots. What is the direct object? And I say direct object, you say accusative. And there you'll answer. He spots the wolf. That's nominative subject, that's nominative plural subject. And we don't need that. Now, number 7 is going to be tricky, and there's going to be one like number 7 definitely on the exam, and that is because so far what you've done is you've seen, oh look, that's nominative, let's pick an accusative that is there. No, don't do that. Instead you have to remember all linking verbs are equal sign, and that's what we have here. And so since on this side we have nominative, we can get rid of all non-nominatives. So get rid of all of those accusative forms. We have masculine, and so let's get rid of the feminine forms. Nope and nope. And we have plural. So let's get rid of the singular form, and that's what goes on the other side. All linking verbs are equal signs. Make sure that you remember that. Then finally, number 8, suddenly they spot a wolf and they run to the country house. Well, since we already have an accusative direct object, we're not going to be selecting another direct object for the blank. Instead, we want to figure out who the they are. So let's get rid of the accusatives because we already have a direct object. Got rid of that. That leaves the puella, puellae, puer, and the servus. Again, subject-verb agreement. A puella is not a they. A servus is not a they. A puer is not a they. A puellae is a they. And so who are the they that spot the wolf? The girls spot the wolf. And so use your context clues of the rest of the sentence to figure out whether you are in need of a subject, nominative form, or an accusative direct object form. Your 5th item, and I think there are going to be 6, your 5th item is puellae. P-U-E-L-L-A-E. Puellae. The answer to number 8. So let's briefly go back to the major exam outline and talk about some of the miscellaneous cultural items that we have learned so far. Please know about what we learned the very first, how Latin is a member of the Indo-European language family, of which German and English and a whole variety of languages belong. Romance languages are those that are going to develop from Latin as people speak it continuously. They include Spanish, French, Italian, Romanian, things like that, as it were. You have the founding of Rome in 753 BC, the res publica, which is the kind of government that they are going to develop after they get rid of kings, where they stay in the summertime. Baiae, Mount Vesuvius that you all know erupted in 79. 80 is the year that obviously our story is taking place. They are first going to be in Baiae on the Bay of Naples. Baiae is the city in which they live. The Bay of Naples is the general area. These 3 are the cities that were destroyed, obviously, by Vesuvius erupting on that date in 79. These are the 3 names that you can have. And then, of course, you include an agnomen for a special name if you do something remarkable. This would be your personal name. That's going to be your extended family reunion name. And that's going to be either a personal trait that you have, like all of y'all, or the branch of the nomen to which you belong. Please know the clothing items that we have learned. You have the amulet, the undergarment, the glorified shawl, the woman's dress, and all of these various different togas are a particular kind of toga. You have the toga praetexta, which of course is going to be worn by those who are consuls or those who are praetors, who have imperium. Also children wear it, as it were. Toga candida, worn by those running for office. It's super bright white. By the way, praetexta has a purple border. Toga virilis, or toga pura, that's just merely the plain toga worn by adult men. It's worn by children, or I should say, when a child, like a boy Marcus, would come of age in his 16th year, he would get rid of the toga praetexta and he would put on the manly toga. If he were ever elected to the top spots of consul or praetor, he would of course be then wearing the praetexta again, but only in the year in which he was consul or praetor, and then thereafter, as it were. Laticlavia, remember, is a type of tunica that indicates a person of senatorial rank. Toga picta, worn by generals in triumph, and the toga sordida or toga pulla, the dirty toga, which is worn as a dark toga when one is mourning someone. And remember, the consuls and praetors are like co-presidents and Supreme Court justices, and they would wear the toga praetexta with those two groups of people. Over here on the other side, remember that the consuls and the praetors wear that toga praetexta and have the fasces carried in front of them by the lictors. So these are the people that carry the fasces, and the fasces are the symbols of authority and power. It's an axe, like you see there, with bundles of rods all around it that would be tied up, and they would be carried in front of the consuls and the praetors by the lictors. So that is what the fasces are, and the lictors are the people who carry them. Octavian, or who then gets the name Augustus, is going to be the guy that is going to bring, finally, peace and stability after 100 years of Higellinus and Pigellinus, and he's the one that is going to get old Virgil, down there at the bottom, Publius Regulus Maro, to write the national Roman epic, which, of course, is the Aeneid, as it were. He is going to have, as his model is Virgil, the great epic poem, or epic poet Homer, who sings the Iliad and the Odyssey about the Trojan War, which is at the root of it all. And then the rest of these items are obviously those people and one's characters that we encounter in the whole story of Aeneas, and so forth and so on. So, if you have any questions about any of these particularly, just let me know. But your very last item, your sixth and final item, is that quality that all Romans should have that Aeneas has a whole bunch of, and that is pietas. P-I-E-T-A-S. Pietas. So, hopefully this is of some help to you, and good luck in your preparations.